Dave may currently be frozen. All right, guys. Welcome to the Prospect Podcast. Coach Schumann was with us. I'm sure he'll be back momentarily. We have a great guest for you today. Coach has worked at Richmond University for a couple years. We're really excited to have him on today. Coach, we couldn't be more excited to have you on, and welcome to the show.
Appreciate you having me.
Not a problem. Glad we could get this done and get you on. It's it's crazy season right now with the holidays and whatnot, and especially with the schedule that college football is, right, which is pretty wild in itself. But Coach, kind of go into your background a little bit, kind of how you got where you're at now. Coming up, growing up, playing, career, where you're from. Give us the bio for everybody out there.
Yeah, so I'll try to make it quick. I can be long-winded at times. So no,
we'll keep you on track, Coach. We'll keep you on track.
Right. So I'm 804 born and raised. My dad, he's a longtime high school head coach here in the state of Virginia. Really successful. Roger Brookes. He coached King William High School, Henrico High School. So needless to say, kind of growing up, football was in the blood. So definitely just kind of as when I got tall enough to carry the water bottles out at timeouts, I was a water boy. When I was strong enough to throw the football to the official, I was the ball boy. I played high school football at Atlee High School. Fortunate enough to play with a lot of talented guys. And then, kind of it played back into years later now. Guys have gone into, coaching themselves after their college careers or personal training, and it's really kind of helped with the relationships as well in the college football world. So, I went to Virginia Commonwealth, no football program there, so I kind of didn't really know where I was going to go. Worked at a restaurant, ironically, family friend. His son went to Florida State, was a captain, Alec Eberly. And another one of those connections. So now he has Hog Academy, which he trains a lot of the top offensive linemen in the Richmond area and maybe a little bit further. So, just depending on if those guys want to come down and get a little specialized training with him. So just those relationships and being around football. Coach Huseman, dating back to his days as a GA at William and Mary, had a relationship with my father. So it just turned out that there was a volunteer opportunity with the operations recruiting department for Coach Dave Legg, which, full circle, was the GA for Coach Huseman at William and Mary back when my dad was taking his players there for camps and whatnot. So Coach Legg, and it's a quote that'll stick with me forever. He looked at me, he's like, Andrew, you remind me a lot of my son, but my son will talk back to me. So, I'm fired up to have you. So I was like, that's perfect. And yeah, I just kind of same story a lot of guys have. You just get in the program, you get your foot in the door, you just keep working and just add more responsibility as they trust you.
I'm glad to be
and you
back.
said your dad was yeah. We lost you. Coach, you said your dad's been a high school head coach.
Good.
Yes, sir.
No,
where is he? Where is he coach at?
Where is he at?
So he was at King William High School for 35 years. He won a state championship there in 2000. And then before he retired, it was 5 years at Henrico High School.
Very cool. Very cool. So when you came to Richmond, and apologize for getting kicked out there in the midst while I was waiting to get back on, I Googled better services than StreamYard. So
that's funny.
Because this happens to us often, right, Derek? It really does. It's usually the end.
I don't know. I don't know what they've done. I don't know if they've tweaked something or done something recently, but it's definitely changed a lot more now, where we're having some issues here or there. It's kind of weird.
I think they got too much stuff put in there. Just let us.
But we digress, right?
So I was curious. So when you came to Richmond, like, what was the impetus for you wanting to coach? What was like to start, moving into that world? And you started that right at, I think you said right after college.
No. So I
Oh,
have a
while you were still
unique
okay.
story.
Yeah.
So I went to school at VCU, and I was a
Right.
criminal justice major.
Right.
So I've always wanted to help people, and the best way and the most impactful way I've seen people be helped in my life from experience is like through my father. So like just kind of there's been a lot of kids that, especially at high school, um, they maybe wouldn't have been able to play sports or football if somebody couldn't give them a ride home after practice
Right.
or something of that nature. A lot of different stories where it's like really I caught the bug because, kids like their parents, they couldn't get off of work and take them on recruiting visits, and I was able to tag along on those visits as just a little kid and meet all these Frank Beamer, Al Groh, Mickey Matthews, like just a lot of and important names in the Virginia kind of like college
Yep.
football world growing up when I was younger. Coach London as well at William and Mary,
One
and
great
then
dude.
Coach Huseman. So yeah, like that's kind of where I got the bug, and I worked at the restaurant for through college, and that was where my close relationship where it still was with coaching, still around a lot of football, and I always had this belief that you know, whether it made sense or not, that I'd be doing what I'm doing today.
Very, very cool. So when you joined Richmond, like, what was it that you were hoping to do? What did you start doing there, and kind of how's that role evolved?
So I guess, at first you have your dream of like, hey, I want to get into college football. Then you get into it and it's kind of like, all right, what exactly am I trying to get? And I mean, personally, I want to just have the relationships with the players. I mean, growing those over the last 3 years and watching it evolve and kind of like knowing that, hey, like no matter whether you graduate or if you hit that portal, like you can call me if we have that relationship 5 years from now, and I mean we'll talk about anything. um and I mean ultimately I want to win championships. I've been fortunate to be a part of a championship winning program early on here in my career, and I just personally I prayed for a lot of clarity, and I think that working in like personnel and building a team is ultimately what I'm going to be doing in this profession.
Talk about what you're currently doing. So as the defensive QC, like, what's your role there? What is like a day in that like?
hmm it's cliche. It's you're so at Richmond, QC, you're one of a couple GAs. So I'm doing anything that Coach Wood needs me to do. He's our defensive coordinator. And then any other coach, pop your head in their office, like, hey, I need a cut up. Like, I'm looking, hey, number 75 at left tackle. Like, we're expecting him to play. Maybe he hasn't played as much. Can you get all his snaps and we'll get it ready for the DNs? Drawing cards, a lot of that, film breakdown. So while we're getting ready to play, let's say Lafayette, well, by the time we've played Lafayette, I've got every game broken down for our next opponent, William and Mary. So, you wear a lot of hats, especially at the FCS level. And I can only imagine, at schools with even less funding than ours, like it's as cliche as it is. I do a lot of the grunt work. There's nothing pretty about it, but
Right.
you got to love it.
What are some of the things that you feel that you really like learning and picking up from doing all that? Like, what are you able to kind of grab as a point that's becoming something that you're really good at within that role?
Definitely kind of like just breaking down the film and just like watching it with more of a purpose. Learning kind of like the schematical side of everything has really helped me, even with kind of like, so I'm responsible for our scouting reports. So I'm doing like all of like the breakdowns of the players, their key players each week, quarterback, running back, tight end,
Mm-hmm.
etc. So it really helped because, to the average ball watcher, you watch a corner and it looks like he just got burned, but really like they're in cover two and the safety needed to be over top. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
you kind of get a different understanding, and it really changed a lot of different perspectives, the way that I viewed things, how I evaluated players, and then just being around all these great coaches, like just kind of absorbing all of their habits, like they're very successful. 4 of the 5 guys that I was fortunate enough to work with have been coordinators at the FCS level. So it's, I'm blessed.
It is so when you break down film, and by the way, I like to get granular, so you don't have to worry about this. So, as far as this being boring, this is something that I enjoy. So when you break down the film, do you have to go through the whole tag? Do you tag it? Like, do you? What is your process like? Like, explain to people what tagging is like for you on the defensive side. What are the things you have to actually go and tag?
Oh no, that's a great question, and I mean I'm glad I'm able to get a little detailed about it to people that kind of care. um,
or
so
listen or understand it too, right? Because like there's
Yeah.
gonna be a portion of this audience right now that just like perked up in their seat and we're like, okay, now let's really get into it. And then there's gonna be another side of it that's gonna be like, what's a tag? What are we talking? Like, what do you mean? Are you
right,
putting a post-it note on a film? Like, no, like they're gonna be totally like blown away by what this is, right now. So go ahead, bud. Like, tell us exactly how you guys break it down.
right, and I'll before I get into it, I'll say like you hate it by week 10, but
Yeah, because
in
there's
August,
15 games.
you're itching. You're like, I kind of miss breaking down film and all that. Like, I never thought I'd say that, but I actually felt that way this summer. Um, but no, so really, like for us, especially at Richmond, like Coach Wood, he really wants a lot of details. And you don't really understand it until you kind of go back and you compartmentalize it, and you're trying to watch like, all right, well, why did I put all the 2-minute stuff in there? Okay, well, maybe on Thursday we're gonna watch and like how do they attack 2 minute? Just while he's in there, so he has an idea of, okay, this is my mindset, this is my mentality because this is how they attack teams. So it's your quarter, your series number. Um, if it was sudden change, that's important because we want to know, are they aggressive with sudden change, etc. Just kind of what do they like to do. And then we have like your down and distance, field position, hash, personnel is really important. So, some teams they'll do a little unique stuff. They'll add extra offensive lineman as a tight end. Maybe they'll bring in a few running backs. It varies week to week because each team has a different kind of flavor and strengths, obviously.
Right.
And then, we have our formations. We have our plays, our play types, run, pass, screen. Then I have to get down. I have to do the routes to the field and to the boundary, whether that pass was completed, or whether he scrambled, was sacked, threw an interception. You got to make sure, when there's penalties in there. And then obviously how the series ended, whether it was a touchdown, a field goal, did they miss it, etc. And then if it's like our game, then I'll put in like our calls and our coverage techniques, and it's kind of like practice, but it's a little bit different. But that's probably the quickest I could explain it all.
How long does it take for you to break down a
Great
game from the
question.
defensive side?
So I would say, I mean, if I'm lucky with the common data, which is like Pro Football Focus, it kind of has like a filtering system. So
Okay.
when our video coordinator uploads a game, if someone from Pro Football Focus has broken down that game, we'll get like the field position, the quarter, and all of those things.
Oh, so that's who you guys utilize. So when you upload it, it goes to Pro Football Focus.
I believe
Yeah,
so. At
and
least
they
DV Sport.
tag the basics for the most part. They break that game down, and it comes back. Was that through Exos
We
or
use DV Sport,
oh DV
so
Sport? Okay.
yeah,
DV,
somewhere in the technological
yep.
cloud.
Yes.
But I
Listen,
know
that's
if
why those
there's
guys are paid that, buddy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
that's why they're paid that money.
Oh yeah, and so obviously the game, like I come in Sunday morning, and I've already finished our game, so
Right.
I'm now completely focused on the next opponent again, and so I know each Sunday I've gotten a great day to look forward to. So that would probably take me about an hour if I'm lucky. If it's like a 80 play game, it's going to take me a little bit more than that, but you know. Uh, I very much enjoy the 55 to 65 play games to break down.
That's good. I like that.
Look, it's one of those things too that obviously like you get better at it, right? Like you figure it out,
Hmm.
you start to find your shortcuts or your niches when it comes to it, right? So like you said, by week one, it's kind of like, okay, I'm getting back into this, but then you obviously hit your stride, and now as you get to, look, there's a lot more of it by the end of the season, right? Like
Hmm.
because now you're looking at so many games, and now you're really getting technical when it comes down to it, especially if you're also depends on who you're working for and what they want, right? In terms of
Right.
that, and breaking it down and having cut ups. And then look, you might have players that want certain specificity, like when it comes to certain tape and what they want to look at, and how that kind of works. But it is one of those things that I think it's kind of a lost art, especially when it comes to certain things like, like obviously at the high school world, we use huddle and whatnot, and they break it down for you. But, you still got to go through that and kind of double check it, because sometimes, they tagged something here, they might mess up here, and that could throw off the entire,
Hmm.
algorithm or a report or whatnot. But that is one of those things that I think younger guys like yourself or QCs or GAs that get into it, like that is one of the most pivotal parts when it comes to that coaching world, of how important the cut ups and the tape and how accurate that needs to be in order to kind of move forward. Um, Speak on that a little bit, like just how important tape is, and tagging it correctly, like how pivotal is that to your position group specifically, and then ultimately the team.
I mean, it's integral. Details are everything, and you coaching. The way that coach can get like frustrated at times, like if I did something maybe a little bit incorrectly, or I started like say the first game I tagged something a certain way, and then by the last two I was tagging it consistently one way. Like it's details. I make mistakes. We're humans, so kind of like you're saying, where the SIDs maybe made a mistake where they're going through the box score, and all right, they said they gained 10 yards, but really it was like a 6 yard gain, and they got back
Right.
right. The details are everything. They're very much important. So like if I have a play, like you need to know if there's a receiver in the backfield. Like if there's a running back not on, in the formation, like it's very important to know. Especially like for empty sets. Just like, hey, where is that running back? Like, because the
Right.
way where he is in the alignment through empty is gonna affect the way that we cover him. It's a lot of everything matters. Every detail matters. You want to be very consistent, so that way that if there is something to change, it's a quick change. Because like, hey,
Right.
maybe you didn't know what to call this play, you didn't want to, this is a unique formation. Like, be consistent, stay detailed, and just every little thing. It's important. There's no job too small, especially in this line of work.
Yeah.
Um, like you people don't. It's a good thing not to be noticed, if that makes sense,
No,
Yeah.
especially as a
that's
GA.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, especially
100%.
especially in what you're doing, the only time you might be getting recognition if something goes wrong, right?
Yeah.
So you try to keep that to a minimum,
Right.
and
Especially if that card's not right. If that card's not right, if that
Oh,
guy's in a one and he's supposed to be in a three, or if this, hey, that's supposed to be a receiver, why is it a back, or how it is,
yeah.
and it's difficult when it comes to that, and that's usually when you get lit up.
Oh
do you
yeah.
do you guys do you guys so when you make your cards, do you use a specific software for that, or is that all in DB Sport?
So at Richmond we use Just Play.
Okay.
Um, so I don't really know anything
Right.
else at
Right.
this
Yeah.
point.
Sure.
But no, I thought it was very user friendly, to be quite honest with you. It was really simple. If I needed to add a different like concept, like all right, they run drive, so I can just go look when I've drawn drive earlier in the season. upload it, and then just adjust, okay, just where they were aligned. How far outside the hash this team runs dry versus this one. Vice versa is kind of how it works with us, at least.
Absolutely. That's a great point. And it's interesting because all the different tools, like you got to jump from software to software. When you break down your custom reports, yeah. So when you do reports, right? So you have to probably give them, okay, here are tendencies, all this kind of whatever you see, right? How do you do that? Do you do that? Do you use software for that? Are you using any AI for that? Or are you just using? Are you just using your good old fashioned brain for that?
I think, I mean, in this day and age, I feel like I'm probably doing it the old fashioned way.
Right.
Just with how AI is, how far it's come, and how
Right.
far it continues to grow, even
Right.
day to day. But Just Play offers a different support, but our scouting reports, I did them through Visio. So, just a lot of different things were just my own eye, then kind of gathering the statistical information myself. Um, and then through like our, the personnel tendencies and just like formation kind of tendencies. Um, I just took that from DV Sport. So DV Sport's really good about, it's really easy to make a cut up there. So, if I need 11 personnel and I have that page, well, I'll just, select every 11 personnel play out of our all play cut up, upload it into a separate one, and then I can sort it however I need it to get,
Right.
formations, etc.
Very, very cool. Very cool. It's interesting because of how much of that is going to change, like making your job easier and more accurate. Obviously, is a big deal. When you guys use the Visio, is that for drawing up the actual like the play alignments, or what do you?
We can. Just Play has like that's where kind of we draw all of our
Where you use that
cards.
for?
Visio, I mean, that's just kind of how we've been doing our scouting reports.
Got it.
And then just things like that. It just allows you to kind of format it a little bit differently with like the
Right.
players' photos and,
Got it.
etc.
Got it. Very, very cool.
Now, Coach, you've been there for a couple years now. Like, how do you deal with it when it comes to coaching changes? And now, you get a new guy in the building, and maybe he might want something different, or he's used to another software or some of that. So, kind of, how do you guys kind of go through that collectively as a group when you get those new guys in, and in retrospect with players as well, right? Because now not only are you dealing with incoming freshmen that have never kind of even been in this world, maybe, right, with the detail to film and whatnot, and then maybe guys that are now coming in as a transfer. Hey, I was at this school, we used this, how do I work this? How do you guys kind of maneuver around with all of that?
So that's a good question. I'm probably not the best person to answer it on our staff, just because, like I said,
Yeah.
when I came in 23, uh, they hired two new guys to work on defense, and it's been the six of us for the last 3 years. So, it's unique because, like you said, especially with
Stability.
what you've seen this year, like
Oh
people
yeah.
go everywhere at all times. And, we have a lot of coaches that I think deserve to be coordinators someday. And, we'll see what happens there. But I'm blessed with that. So
Yeah,
I
you
can't
haven't
really
had much
answer
turnover.
that
Yeah,
too
I get it.
much. But
Right,
I will
which is
say,
it's kudos to your
Big
staff.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we
Mhm.
literally just talked about it, the other, I think it was yesterday or the day before. We were talking about the continuity with, no, it was yesterday. We were talking to the OC from Bixby High School out in Oklahoma, right?
Uh-huh.
And their staff, I mean, he was talking about both coordinators have been there for over 15 years each, right? Like along with
Right.
the head coach, like they all speak the same language or that type of stuff. So the
Mhm.
continuity, and especially at a program like Richmond, where it's been trending upward, right? Like just
Mhm.
in terms of size, you know what I mean? Like conference play, like all that kind of stuff, like where the program itself has continued to grow and improve. To keep the same guys together continue to work together, right? And not have, hey, this guy here, this guy here. Now, look, that's going to happen, right, for the most part, because most guys aspire to go or whatever. But like you said about the coaching cycle right now, this is one of the wildest years we've ever seen, right, in terms of, the amount of coaching moves and the numbers attached to all of it and whatnot. But like, to keep that staff in line and to keep it all together, right, speaking the same language, like, just adds just a whole different level, of positivity within a program and a structure setting in something that, for the most part, like, it's 1-2 years max maybe, and guys are gone.
Mm-hmm. No, the culture that Coach Wood, I utmost respect. He's a leader of men for sure, and it says a lot because guys don't, he's good to work for. Um, and he's a good guy, and but kind of like I do have a little bit of insight though I can offer as far as with like the new additions with the transfers and adapting.
Sure.
And then even maybe coaches that I like on the offensive side, I've seen a couple guys go on, take associate head coach job. Coach Kennedy, he's down at Davidson now, great coach. So, but guys have come in and if say they used Exos, it can be a little bit complicated from a technological standpoint because you've got so much information here. Now you're trying to get it and all your cut ups uploaded, maybe like formats a little differently. So it can be a headache from the coaching side. I can definitely see that. Um, from a player perspective, I mean, we've been really lucky. Like since I've been here, it's almost like I've watched like the vet and then the rookie, and it's just they're constantly together. And then you see that translate to success. Peyton Seelman, for example, he was always with Wayne. He was always with Carter Glassmeyer. It came to no surprise to me that he was healthy and had an incredible season for us this past year. Same thing where it's just like the DBs, they kind of, I watched them follow each other, or the leader was kind of bringing everyone on. It was Jabril Hayes last year and Matt Trainer. And then where does Trainer go? He goes to Wisconsin. So it's like, if you're a young guy, and if there is any young players listening at all, like definitely attach to the vet that does all the right things and stay with him because it's just going to translate. I don't know how else to put it. I don't have some 30 years of experience to tell you that, but in my 3 years, I've seen it. So,
No doubt. I think that's an important thing, because it helps you to continue to develop and you can learn a lot. Which is, in that field, it's, the more you can learn, the faster you can learn, the better off you're going to be, right? So
sure.
those are definitely big things.
No doubt.
What are you looking to do as you going forward? Like, what are some of the things that you're hoping to accomplish in the next couple of years for yourself as a coach and within the program?
I'd really, honestly, I want to become a director of player personnel and eventually a general manager. The general manager thing, I think I need to see a lot of the NIL and how that truly works.
Right.
Right.
FCS level, don't think you get a lot of that.
Do you
Maybe
guys
out
have any
west.
NIL? Is that like, do you have some of it, or is it more individualized, like stuff they're doing on their own?
Yeah, probably individualized, like
Okay.
guys that because you can utilize that platform. Like our long snapper, he's Brian Catanzarite. He's I mean, he's got almost like his own little podcast, own little cooking show going on. Like he's got relationships with a lot of like local vendors in the area. Like I
Right.
think at a place like Richmond, that's at least within football, that's probably what you're gonna have to try to do. And I think
Right.
we're gonna see more of it as like Richmond kind of invests into this NIL and fully embraces it. It starts with basketball, kind of works its way down, different relationships. Richmond does a great job. It's a great community. The city is growing constantly too, especially like I said, grew up here my whole life. Like it is completely different. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
so No, it's definitely cool in that
It's
way.
another trend across the board, right? Because Dave, we talk to guys all over the country, and those guys that are in places where like populations have now grown or it's expanding, and or the city itself or whatever community it is, through the NIL and through the school itself, like we've just seen this, like they talk about that aspect of it. Just more people adds more to this entire, bigger picture and whatnot. I think it's so interesting that you want to get into, and Dave could like talk about this too. We could like you want to go into the GM role or the player personnel role, right? Like you don't need to be the linebackers coach or a DC. Like you want your track to be, a job that within the last 5 years has blown up and is now absolutely pivotal to whatever program that you're at in terms of, continuing to build the roster and allowing now coaches to just actually coach and do what they're really, really good at. And you can manage, right? And, the bigger the school, the larger the staffs. We've seen this increase in, jobs within the sport itself that kind of don't have anything to do with like what goes on the field other than like maybe playing time and all that kind of stuff, right? Position will be based, but for the most part, like that was really the way to get a job within college football was you had to coach. Not so much the case anymore. What were some of the things that really kind of like sparked your interest? Like why that route? Right? Like what, you know what I mean? Like look, you grew up the son of a coach, like go coach. Well, I want to work with players. I want to deal with this aspect of it. Why that?
So, I feel called to coach, and I feel like everybody, and I call everyone in this line, like if you're a football operation, I mean, you're coach to me. Like to me, it's everybody kind of represents that coach figure because you do have a relationship with the players. And I was, grew up when I started to get into it, I was trying to figure out, I had no clarity as to like my strengths are definitely in evaluation and just kind of player evals and maybe schematically like, hey, how do we get this guy into his strength? Maybe he's a great linebacker, but if we brought him down a couple of times, what could you make happen on the edge?
Right.
Things like that, or like a DB, like, all right, well, how do you get him on, into the nickel spot on third down? It just, I have a lot of creative things in my head that I like to think about, and that I've always enjoyed. So like the draft process. I mean, I almost religiously listen to draft podcasts. When I was in high school, it'd be like me and my buddies were looking at the ESPN 300. So it's like
Right.
I think my passion has always been that, and I've always wanted to help people. And like I said, I've just utilized and stayed where my feet are, and just I've taken every bit of advice. It's like, maybe I haven't gotten the opportunity to go somewhere else yet, but like to me, my faith has told me like I'm here for a reason. So everything I've just been constantly trying to develop, and I'll shout him out. His name's Jacob Hijibu. He coached and he's currently at Michigan as a recruiting analyst. I got connected with him when he was in like a player personnel coordinator role at Western Michigan. We shared our faith a little bit, and he said, "Hey, pray for clarity, man." Because I was like, "Do I, coach?" I'm reaching out to everybody, and I'm definitely capable of coaching, but I feel like I've got a special talent when it comes to kind of roster building.
Yeah, I think that's first of all, that
Cool.
role is only going to continue to grow, because more and more you're going to need guys that understand that part at the college level, and there are guys in that role now, but a lot it depends on the place. There are places where that GM player personnel role is really just like another quality control person. You know what I mean? Like they just gave him a different name. And then some places it's a flat out, GM. Some places they basically took the ops guy and they made him the call GM, so you feel better.
You're right.
So it's like it really depends on how that is. I'll give an example who definitely does use. I mean, a lot of the probably SEC schools and Big Ten schools do, but like Vanderbilt has done a great job with their GM role. They hired a few years. The coach is friends with like childhood friends with the guy who ends up he hired at the GM, but he was the Rivals.com analyst for like national analyst for a long time, Barton Simmons, and because
I
they
used to
were
listen to him.
yeah, there you go. So Barton, who I know well from like the camps and stuff, although he doesn't pick up my call anymore, but that's a whole different story.
Usually how it works. Usually how it works. The more numbers, the more what is it? The more commas on the paycheck.
Yeah,
more commas on the paycheck, the longer it takes to respond to a text
message.
message.
Ryan Day. Ryan Day. Ryan Day definitely as well. There's two guys.
Coach Schumann's been in this game for so long, right? Like he was one of the founding, like the original OGs when it came to showcases and camps and all that. So, he used to run over 150 camps nationally. So he had contact with so many of these guys that were on like the ground floor when he is and now have ascended to stuff. And it's always funny to hear like, oh yeah, well, I knew him when it was. And it's like, they don't, it's like, it's just funny to see how that world kind of
all comes together. If anyone wants it.
Well, look, Coach, I think it's something too, but I think it's something too that you've seen, right? Being the son of a coach, like you see how networking is so pivotal, right? And especially at your level where, look, Richmond is different in the fact that like a lot of guys haven't gone anywhere, but some of those coordinators, position coaches ascend to be something else. And now if you do your job as the QC, right? Like now you either piggyback with that person and go 100%. There's opportunities within, but you know what I mean? Like within the world.
What's interesting about what they did with what Vanderbilt, and it worked out, which you didn't know at first because they were losing a lot in the beginning. So it would have been easy to say it was not a good move per se when they hired Barton, but it really ended up working out because Barton has a really good ability to understand like players and their abilities and analyze them, and he's personable. And he's from that area, so he gets the coach went to Vanderbilt, Barton went to Yale, played at Yale, but if you played at Yale, you kind of understand how Vanderbilt is. So it's just it's an SEC team playing with a Ivy League education, but but you get that kind of part of it. And what he did a really good job of was really, especially in the transfer portal, figuring out the guys that would be good fits that could do well at Vanderbilt playing wise and be able to survive academically. And because I say survive because,
that's what it is.
It's a really good school, right? So be able to hold his own academically and not have an issue or anything like that there. So I think they did a really good. He did a really good job of that. And I think where his background in that kind of world helped in that area, and he really kind of is a true GM in the sense that he's handles like a lot of the backdoor stuff for the NIL. He handles a lot of the oversees the player things that the head coach can't get to. So that part of it is really. And then like I said, other places where like UConn really didn't use it in that way last year, but more really had him as like as a personal assistant.
Right. Which and look, we've seen
he was great at it. Honestly, he was great at it.
Right. And in the way in the guys that we've talked to, like we've seen a lot of guys use it in a multitude of ways, right? Like good, bad, or indifferent. You kind of got to find that role of how it fits into where you're at, right? Like the SEC isn't going to do what Richmond's doing, right? Like it's just not on the same part. Like
different budget, right? Too. So UConn probably had a different budget for the role than Vanderbilt had, right? So Vanderbilt probably is able to pay very well. UConn probably paid okay at it, right, for that role, and so he kind of made the best of it. He used it. He was kind of an ops guy, kind of a personal assistant to the coach, and kind of a guy to handle things, right? And that's what's really cool about it. So like, you grow into whatever that role is for you. You can pick and choose based off of the university what it's going to be. It's not like the NFL where that role, GM, and player personnel is very strongly defined as to almost exactly what they're doing, which is different in college. And I think kind of at first I was against it. I was against not the GM role, but against like these varied styles of the GM role. Like it's confusing for guys like yourself. Like, how should I take a job here? What is the GM role exactly? But now I'm kind of like, you know what? Every university is different, so and every school has different needs, and the NFL is very cookie cutter for as far as what the needs of the GM has to be, and because you have a cap, you got all these different things. So there may be more of a flexibility needed at the college level. Whereas if you saw a podcast of me probably a year and a half ago, I would have been saying that it needs to be like the NFL does it. Not exactly the case anymore. But that's really interesting. So what Derek, you were about to ask a question for interrupt you, so I'll let you ask before I ask. You have
no, go ahead. No, good.
What's really interesting is I'm curious. Obviously, we got a good breadth of your scouting skills and your ability to break down film. What are some of the other things that you really think that you starting to really learn that people can understand that comes along with the job that you're doing?
Your time and sticking to your routine. Like I think that's really important is like finding a routine. Because balance, like it's tough. Like in the season, like you don't have a day off. Like from
Right.
August 1st or the day that you report to camp until the day that you're done. So and everybody wants to keep playing. So like if it was up to me, like I'd still be breaking down film right now.
Right.
But that's just not how it worked out for us this season.
Right.
But like I said, that my goal is to win the national championship. So like I'm not gonna be the one to complain when I ultimately do get this opportunity to like work that hard and get that. Um, but no, from like I've learned a lot. Like I feel like I've learned more off the field than on the field. And that's not to say that it's tough to sit there and say, well, all right, well, schematically, I understand this now. Like I've learned everything. Um, like I've grown so much that it's really hard to sit here and tell you like one specific thing, but organization, attention to detail, consistency, and then like finding that routine. So like, and that it looks different for everybody, but like you need to try to find a way to get a workout in. 2 years ago, I'd have probably never said that. I'll be honest. And if Coach Wood listens to this, then he'll be like he'll probably smile a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, and I take when I reach out and I try to network because like you were saying, a lot of times guys get jobs by the coaches they really latched on to gets an opportunity, and our guys they have a great one, so it's like you're really not going to leave unless it's like a life-changing kind of like you can't say no.
Absolutely.
And
Well, especially for you, right? Being a homegrown kind of boy, like, does that matter? Does that factor into your decisions and whatnot? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, hell, you started your bio with the area code for where you grew up, so
yeah.
I know you take pride in where you grew up and where you're from. Does that play a role into it in terms of like next moves or maybe other opportunities?
Yeah, definitely. To me, it probably does. I really think with a lot of these coaches here in Virginia, like it'd be a good thing to have me on the staff. And I mean, Richmond, I'm happy to be here too. So like, and I've used my connections to bring guys in, and like I grew up with
Right.
Peyton Seelman's family, and like just things like that. And his coach in high school was my best friend. So like,
right.
there's
Well,
just
the
different
network within.
relationships.
Right, like
Yeah.
the network, you have a phenomenal network, I assume, like within the state itself, through your father, through you, right? Like
Right.
what high schools have really good players and whatnot. Like you can add that personal feedback. I mean, look, it's the same for Dave and I when it comes to New Jersey, right? Like any
Right.
coach could call us and be like, "Hey, I got this kid at this school." We could probably like we probably know someone, if not the head coach, a guy on every single staff within the state, right? And you can find that information out real quick of whether or not what it is, and that's a positive thing to have, on a staff, a guy like that on a staff. So for you to be on a staff at a school in state where, you know, those guys can maybe they're not from that Virginia and they don't know the Virginia breakdown. They don't know that, you know, that high school might have a really good player, but they play against these guys or something of that nature.
Right.
So that factors in a lot to it as well. But, you know, Coach Schumann says it the best. He goes, look, I could call any one of these guys, but that doesn't mean they're going to take you. Right. Like that doesn't mean that's going to get you. All that does is just create another maybe opportunity for you to have a conversation. That's about it. Right. Like, because, you know, especially with the way it is now, I mean, hell, it could have been the best man at your wedding, dude. But you know what? Like, there's a lot of text messages before he answers for one time. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just the way of the world. But it is definitely a benefit. And I'm curious to know a little bit more, you know, in terms of staff breakdown for Richmond himself. Like, how many position coaches, how many GAs, how many QCs does that staff actually have? Because that FCS world of where Richmond is and the conference that they're in, it's always interesting to see how those guys within that level of ball, what their staffs look like in comparison to, you know, University of Virginia or Vatech or one of those. Like, how does your staff break down in comparison to those guys?
Oh, I tell you what, it's really interesting when you go to like when we play our money game, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I you know, I've been able, it's really cool because I've seen Michigan State, I've seen UVA, and I've seen North Carolina now, and they have more students than we have like a full staff, I swear. But yeah, so there's the head coach. Then we have our director of football operations, director of recruiting. It's kind of one shared position that he has to wear, which can be a lot for him too. So like I give him a lot of credit. Especially when I
That's a
worked
lot.
for Coach Legg before he retired. Like seeing that that is at the FCS level, man, you really got to work hard, and you do need to have like you can wear multiple hats. Like you can't be above anything at this level. So each side of the ball has 5 full-time coaches. Um, and then each coordinator has his own position group. And then special
Each
teams.
coordinator has a position as well.
Yes, sir. So like our defensive coordinator is our linebackers coach. And he's also the associate head coach. And then on the offensive side, like Jacob Huseman, he is the quarterbacks coach, co-offensive coordinator, play caller. And then like run game coordinator, co-OC is the O-line coach, Coach Cummings. So it's been kind of like I've seen that. So like I don't know, maybe at some schools there's just, hey, you're just the coordinator. I'm not sure, but at least at our level, they kind of they share their own room, so it's like they have all of their. There's a lot more responsibility probably than maybe like UVA has, where each position group probably has like a part-time coach or assistant wide receivers coach now, but it's unlimited whistles.
I like the way you
And
put that.
then
The whistles. That's kind of how it
yeah.
is, right? Like, hey, who has a whistle within the room, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's good. How many GAs? How many QCs?
So through the spring last season, there was just one on each side. Typically, there's always people reaching out. Just a matter of like, hey, you want to come work for free? Like,
Yeah.
that's the reality of this. And it's like, you really got to love it, man. Like, it is as cliche as it seems. But yes, but as the season approached, we added 2 more guys on each side, which really helps like a whole lot, especially like executing practice itself. Like walkthroughs, especially where you can kind of like you're trying to get through 80 cards in 45 minutes. Well, you need to divide and conquer these guys and get them up there. Next group's got to be ready. So, and then we had one. We didn't have an operations or recruiting assistant this year, but in past there's been at least one person in that role as well.
Very cool. Very cool. It's very interesting hearing like how it is for a young person like really coming up in it and the things you deal with. I wonder what you do if you feel a nap feel coming on. What do? You just grab some more coffee, just shove it down right down that throat.
During the season, like
grab a pillow and curl up under a desk, like, right? Do you have a cot? Do you have a blow up mattress that comes out of the closet, right? Because I remember my coaches, and this is at the D3 level, pulling out that mattress, like, coach, what are you doing? Like, he's like, hey, I'm sleeping in the office tonight, buddy.
I'll be honest. There's a couple couches around the facility for sure, and I know where they're at. That cliche is very, very true. Like, if don't get in this profession if you're not willing to sleep in your office at least one night. I promise.
Yep.
It's not. It's just not for you.
Hell
if you
yeah.
won't.
No, this is great stuff. It's really great. Hearing what you're doing and how you're handling it all and your background and you're much continued success. You're doing a great job and you're at a great place and
really great place.
I'm sure you'll continue to grow, whether it's there or somewhere else in the future. You're on a great path, man. So it's really great having you on, Coach.
No, I really appreciate it. And I mean, when you guys offer this platform, I was like, who wants to listen to little old me? But I was like, there's a lot of people that are in my position. I guarantee it. And I mean, if I can offer anything to anybody, then hey, I helped. And it's what I said. That's my purpose. So.
And when you're head coach one day, we'll be able to be like, even though he doesn't take my calls anymore or answer my emails, we once had him on, and here's the proof.
Right. No. I'll try to stay grounded. You can call me. I'll come back.
Again, the more commas and the more zeros on that check, buddy. The more zeros on that check changes people.
I'm going to do that. That's awesome. Great stuff. It's awesome having you on, and keep doing great things, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate you taking the time, buddy.
God bless.
All right. Bye. Real good stuff. Excellent.
It's just funny hearing, like you said, like you're talking to a QC from Monmouth on Monday, and now you compare to Richmond. You know what I mean? Like two different, like same titles, but very different roles in kind of like what they do and whatnot. Like you could kind of tell, like his main responsibilities are those film breakdowns, right? Like it has to be tagged right, and he has to be intricate in how he does it. And then, like when we talked to Scotty Mish on Monday, like his role was different within the special teams. Like there was breakdowns and film cut-ups in that role as well, but you can kind of see how some people put, I guess certain responsibilities are heightened, right? Even though it's the same title, like everybody has their own specificity when it comes to certain things and whatnot. So it's awesome to kind of hear that world of, like kind of the life that they live, right? And it's wild, but what's the common thread, right? Like both of them said, like, you have to love this, right?
Absolutely.
Like you have to love it because, you are drawing cards and doing all the grunt work. But Richmond's a great place. I've never been. I'm sure you have.
I've been to Richmond, yeah. Well, we played when I was in college. We played Richmond.
Right.
Actually, Richmond was, Richmond was one of my. I think that was. I don't know if that was one of my first game starting at fullback.
Were they good? Were they okay? We have that. I mean,
really good.
Yeah.
The game that that game I think we beat them. We ran it was in the rain. We ran the ball like for 1,000,000 yards. Like, I mean, I had a decent, even some yards rushing, even at fullback. So, but it was, it was a great place back then. It's not that way anymore. But back then they had that turf that was hard as a rock. But,
AstroTurf, buddy.
It was AstroTurf, yeah, and they didn't have.
Welcome to my first year at Montclair State. I played on AstroTurf.
Oh yeah, you definitely did. You definitely did.
Brutal.
It's you guys were one.
It probably took 3 years of my life.
Yeah, you guys were one of the last people to still have it.
Yeah. And I remember literally.
I remember that.
I remember watching it, change and
oh,
get
they got
ripped
to get
up.
rid
And
of
like
that.
it was a big
Yeah.
deal, right? Like it
Oh,
was a big aspect of the whole program. I mean, hell, we used to. I remember senior year of high school, we practiced at Montclair State, like, going to the state finals because there was snow on the ground and we couldn't get a field. So they allowed us to go and use the turf. And, that was always like a big deal. Like, playing on AstroTurf, bro.
So those were, I mean, JMU had that, Richmond had that.
Now, where is Richmond in vicinity? Like University of Virginia, Virginia Tech? Like, because look, Virginia has a lot of schools. Virginia has a lot of schools.
A lot of schools.
You know what I mean? Like, and there are a lot that like people don't really know about.
Richmond is like an hour and a half south of like that Washington D.C. area. So, and probably a little, I don't know, it might be a little west. And so like JMU is west and south, maybe an hour west and south. Richmond's an hour and a half. Richmond, the city is a city. It's a city. So
hey, capital of the South, dude.
Yeah, exactly. The stadium used to be in downtown Richmond, but the university was kind of a little bit away from there. So I don't know where they play now, if they have a thing on campus or not. I'm not sure. But because I haven't been there.
Spiders.
I've been through Richmond a few times since then, but I haven't been like over by where their stadium is. But Virginia has a lot of schools. Like Charlottesville is probably 40 minutes from there, maybe. And then you got William and Mary, which is another 45 minutes from there.
You have two big time programs, right? University of Virginia, you have Vatech, you have Hampton, William and Mary, Richmond, Norfolk State, right? Like there's a lot of programs within the state itself. And Richmond, that's not an easy admit,
So when Coach was saying that, like, he was working with people, like, even when he was at VCU, like, and how the reason why he was able to do that, because VCU is also in Richmond. So VCU is also in Richmond. So that's actually their Division I basketball school. You might remember Shaka Smart, like, was the coach there for a few years. He like made them into you might not even remember it, but he made them into a power. Now he's at like Texas or something. But that's in Richmond. So that's how he was able to, and he's from that area. So that's how he was able to kind of have those relationships, because he was so close to all that. Like, it's all right next to each other, all of it. And I think that area is a really awesome area. Like,
oh my God,
what's that?
I'm looking at it, and there's a lot of teams in Virginia, dude.
Oh yeah, Virginia, yeah, of course. And there's a lot. There's a lot of
look, like even Division IIIs. That's what I'm saying. Old Dominion, right?
Dominion,
like,
Virginia, right.
I mean, look, even talking like the D3s of the world, dude. You know what I mean? Like Christopher Newport, Emory and Henry, like Hampton Sydney, right? Like James Madison, Liberty,
Randolph-Macon,
right? I mean, yeah,
they're all these places. So Richmond, I mean, Virginia's a great state from that standpoint. Like, really, really is a great state. So,
and like you said, he started off like kind of when you lost whatever. Like his dad obviously has coached for years in the state itself. So, and look, we talk about ties to the state, like, right, like where you can be an asset for that staff. Like, if you're not from Virginia, that could be difficult to kind of navigate those waters, right? Whereas, if you know what schools are where, or where players are coming from, or trends of who's going where, like that could be a really big deal or a really big asset to have that guy on your staff.
No doubt. Really good stuff, man. Really, really good stuff. All right, next week, what do we got?
Next week we will hopefully finally get Coach Fortney, Brad Fortney on, and then we have, that's on Monday, and then on Tuesday we have Coach Jim Kelly, who is the head girls flag coach at Montclair State. Really good stuff. Long time coach in the state. He's in the Essex County Hall of Fame. He was at Nutley High School for years. He was a coach on our staff at Montclair State. He's been the head coach of Caldwell College sprint football. Coach Kelly's a wealth of knowledge across the board, dude, and probably knows more people than I do. And in this world of getting the girls' flag at the next level, like, he's got some really awesome insight. And I've spoke to him a little bit, but I'm really excited to talk to him. It's a real eye-opening when it comes to talking girls' flag now in college.
Well, so if you saw the thing, NFL is now going to have sponsor pro flag football.
So the Jets, I know, hired a coach from up north to be their representative for their girls' flag team that they're putting together, right? And it's now down here, we're affiliated with the Giants, right? Boys and girls. But we're affiliated down here with the Giants, and I've already been on calls preseason already for us with the girls. Like, it's going to be a real sport in New Jersey, come 2027, where you can only play one. You're going to have to choose. It's no longer going to be considered a club. That will come 2027. But just with that in itself, just the differentiation for the spring 2027, it's going to be a real sport.
That's going to be softball,
track, lacrosse.
Holy cow.
Now, in talking to some coaches, there are already schools that are kind of already adopting that and not allowing girls to kind of go back and forth.
Not that many, right? Not really that many.
Look, I had 25 uniforms, and that was a lot.
Yeah. But you could, how many go on the field at a time?
For, what we do, 7.
7. Okay. So you theoretically,
now, our center's not eligible. We do some things rules wise that are a little different, which now I know moving forward this year, at least for us down here where we're at, kind of, central or whatever, we're kind of adopting more of the rules from up north so that there's more uniformity across the state in terms of the actual rules that everybody's playing with, right? Some tweaks when it comes to blitzing and, in up north, they could blitz from wherever, whenever, as long as you were a yard off the ball. That wasn't the case for us. You were only allowed to blitz one girl, and it had to be from 7. You had to declare some of the blocking stuff, right, where it's more set a pick and basketball type stuff that we're adopting and kind of going from there. And I think that uniformity within the state will only allow to it in the bigger picture of it, right, in terms of that. But look, in talking to Coach Kelly, it is booming. I mean, he has visits every weekend of girls coming in that want to be a part of it. I mean, even girls that are transferring back from schools where they've gone Midwest or South to play flag. And now that Montclair is getting it and it'll be an official sport, they're going to come back and, there are scholarship opportunities, right? He'll speak on it. It's really interesting to see where it's at and how it's trending. And in no time at all, this is going to, he even referenced the Big Ten is just waiting to start to put it on TV and do all those and stream it and do all those kind of things. They're literally sitting there with a blank check saying, when you're ready, we are good to go. You might see a Montclair State, Rutgers club team game.
They should have, they're going to have, wow.
Because right now, in my understanding of speaking to him, and he can attest to it when he comes on and speak on it, there's no D1, D2, D3. There's no level differentiation right now within the college world. It's all all one.
Costs nothing to start.
Uniforms, a plate, you can practice anywhere, flag,
flags and a ball,
right,
whatever ball they use.
Here we go. You know what I'm saying? And look, how many girls do you really need on a team to kind of rock and go?
We use the flag balls, right? Not actual football.
Not sure. I'm not. For us, we use what the hell do we use? Listen, again, we're affiliated with the Giants, so they give a package to every team where they literally provide you with footballs, flags.
Is it a flag football or is it a
it's more it's more of a flag. Now look, we went out and bought one, hey, we need to have this ball, and they're like, you don't need to have that. So and the girls don't actually like it. They don't even like the real football because they're so used to playing with, whatever they play with in all their flag leagues and travel teams. I do just think that, like, the schools that will embrace it are going to obviously benefit more, but the ones that are going to like fight back where now I'm coach or whatever that comes into, right? Like, or I got to fight the lacrosse coach to like battle back and forth of like,
that's going to be a battle.
Because look, I'll tell you right now, like I know of some coaches that I've spoke to where that's already kind of in place where like, hey, like I know you can, but not at this place. Like you cannot do softball and then go to, whatever practice after, right? Like that's not, you can't do both. The schools are already cutting down and not allowing the girls to do that, knowing that it will be, that will be the rule come next, not this upcoming spring, but 2027 spring. Like, which is in retrospect to where I'm at, like that's why we hold practice at 6:30 because the girls can go to softball or track, be done, and then come
cut down your players too. Once they have to choose, like, right?
I already know, like in speaking to our girls, right? Like the appeal is to go to flag because that's they just want to do that, right? Now whether it's we're not very good at softball or, I can play more if I play flag, but there are girls that have referenced, like I said, I have a roster of like probably 25 to 30. And there's at least 10 of them that are like, how do I can play this in college? Like, I would really like to do that.
Well, like flag football is just like regular football, but
it's creating an opportunity for them to go do things.
Even less required. You could be an athlete and be great.
Absolutely.
I could take a soccer player.
My best player.
We went to the champion last year in this winter flag thing we were in. We just had our team of our
my best. I would say one of my best players. My two best players are multi-sport studs, right? Like the one girl is, she's big time, like she's been starting basketball since she was a freshman. You know what I'm saying? Like she's that already. The other girl is a high level soccer player, right? Like, but they've done flag with travel teams their entire lives. So now that it's, hey, this is real in high school, like, like varsity jacket with girls flag logos on them, dude. Like that's the kind of appeal to it. And knowing that they can use it, like, oh, I would, like, I'm going to play this in college. Like that's an opportunity now. Now look, smaller schools may diminish it and hurt, other sports, lacrosse, we talked about softball, like track, I don't want to be one of those guys that starts to like, well, I'm taking from your program. I can't help it if the girls just see the appeal and want to do more football, right? Like that's going to be hard for guys to kind of navigate that world a little bit in the first couple of years.
There's no doubt.
And then you're going to see an expansion of like youth programs of like, how do I play girls flag before I get to high school, right? Because there was a very definitive line in our first year of doing it of like, this group has played before, know what's kind of going on. And then this group is like, hey, what's a football, right? Like the basics of it. And it was kind of like polar opposites of what it was, which is why I loved that we do like a JV set every game, right? But
I'm going to definitely put this together, but I don't know.
The expansion of it, every year there's 2-3 schools, right? Like there are now 3 divisions within the shore of 9 teams each.
Instead of doing tournaments, okay, for flag girls, and I'm not talking about like at the high school level, obviously you have a league, right? There should be leagues in club. It should just be like how AF is, like,
Correct.
like,
I think that will come with it, Dave. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it'll all build off of it. You would think it would go the other way of like, hey, let's create this league and then kind of, go from there. I just think it's kind of uncharted territory for a lot of people that don't really kind of like, how do I do? What do I do?
Up. That's correct. What they think. And your biggest fight is not going to is going to be. I don't think it's going to be softball. I think it's going to be lacrosse.
No, it's going to be lacrosse.
Soccer,
spring soccer. Because now that travel team you play on in the spring, I'm gonna go do flag football instead of that travel team.
Correct. So
You know?
that's about the club soccer coaches are going
Right.
to be in a massive battle with the flag football coach. And then lacrosse, the lacrosse is more specialized, meaning you have to really get a skill. Soccer to me is similar to flag in that you don't need a lot of equipment. You could go start playing it and get pretty good, by playing.
And I think for soccer, it's kind of like the first sport that you get into, irregardless of like when you're young. Like that's the first thing a parent puts a kid in, right? Is like, hey, let's go play soccer. I mean, shit, we have that program down here that starts kids when they're like 3, right? Of just like, hey, go kick a ball. So I think the familiarity of like, hey, soccer, but I mean, with the flag, like you could do the same type of gig. And now with the familiarity, like parents will be more comfortable to kind of go do it. And knowing that there's light at the end of the tunnel in terms of like they can play in high school and now college, when that was really never a thing. It was like, hey, I just play flag and it's whatever. Like the expansion of it, like boom. It's really cool. I think it is. Like even within the shore itself, Dave, we now have like a North, a Central, and a South division, 9 teams in each. It's a 9-game schedule. You're playing 2 games a week, right? And then the top 4 teams from every section will make the playoffs. And here you go.
Makes perfect sense. Very, very cool. I'm gonna check out this Just Play because I use a system now that's really good, but I think I need more.
What did he said that was what he drew cards up on?
Yes, I use I can never remember the name of it, to be honest. I used to use for all my stuff.
Just still use Huddle.
Huddle is good, but Huddle doesn't give you all the colors and doesn't give you all the like linkages in.
Well, for me, it's whatever works with whatever uploads and goes like connects perfect with the go route, right? Like whatever I can handle and do all that. Like you know what I'm saying? Like
you just screenshot.
Yeah.
The go route you just screenshot and put it in.
Dude, got a lot of information and feedback with the go route, obviously, like going through with like, they're rolling it out in Texas and being able to use it and all that, dude. I mean, it was wild. Like some of the statistics that I got in an email in terms of like there's 700 teams using go route and 100 and whatever won like state titles or were in the finals or whatever it was. Like there was some crazy data in terms of like the benefit coming from it. Obviously that's what they're going to send out, but
yeah, Derek, this from scout the part of it. I can tell you because I put plays on the wrist. It's a game changer. The next thing is really to make it on the wristband, so they just look and they get to play, and not have a clunky wristband, because that is to me so easily the easiest way for kids to understand where do they go and so they can play fast, because and also gives you the ability to do a lot more. It really does. You have to do more, obviously, but it does give you the ability to do more. Like if you run your system, maybe it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? But if you want it, like let's say you were a basic wing tee guy, okay? Under center wing tee, and you had 5 wrinkle plays they just put on the wrist. They memorized everything else, right? You had these 5 plays. You know how hard that is for a defense?
So hard.
You're practicing
extremely difficult
for this one system, and then all of a sudden they line up in 5, quads right out of nowhere and do some sort of crazy play.
Bixby. Look at Bixby.
Yeah, I also, yes, that's why I'm going there, because I want to know if there's other things I could do that's even better. Like,
right.
I feel like I've cracked the code, but I happen to be coaching very young kids, so it's one of those things that there's different challenges with it. But I could tell you with young kids, dude, we have a combination, Derek, of plays that they've memorized, these single, word plays that they've memorized what they have to do, which, you're going to keep responsibilities pretty basic, right? And that with kids. And then you have these plays on your wrist that they don't have to, but they kind of do memorize it over time.
Dave, it's the same thing. I'm correlated to this, right? In high school, you spend the entire night making a cheat sheet for the chemistry test. Then you get into the room, you have the sheet with you, and you don't even use it because you freaking memorized it all as you were creating the cheat sheet. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of that type of thing.
Well, you also can screw up the other team because you have so much communication coming in that's only your team knows and nobody else knows. They hear something, they're like, oh, and then all of a sudden you call this, and it's like has nothing to do with the last thing you called. There's
you come out. Who referenced it? Was it Bixby or no? It was Scotty Mish on Monday who referenced it. He said, "Look, we're rugby punt, but if I come out in 10 different formations, that's 10 different things they have to prepare for and to adjust to on the fly." Look, I've adopted that aspect when it comes to the special teams that we run and whatnot. Like we keep it very simple, but we line up and do it a bunch of different ways, right? And it's I think this year it was most evident when it came to extra points and how we muddled. I mean, we had 4 or 5 different muddle sets, right? Yep. And I mean, it was a high percentage of like whatever we're doing, we're going to rock and roll. Our head coach kind of runs the punt unit, and there is a ton of variations off of what we do on punt and all that kind of stuff. Like it just takes time to have to go through it. Even if you have to like look at it, just with a muddle, like now you have to take all that time in practice to say, all right, if they do this, you got to do this. If they do this, you got to do that. Like that takes time to coach it. And if not, like then you're down 8-0, and that could be the difference.
I have an unstoppable muddle play for you,
Dave. I'm telling you, we hit so many. Look, center eligible, like we hit it. You know, look, we had it. Hey, muddle to the right, and then 4 guys here. We had muddle to the right, 2 wide outs over here, 2 at the back. Like we just muddle over right. We split the muddle and went like almost polecat status, right? Like here we go. Like, dude, we would have guys, and it's a great. I'll tell you, I pissed off my cousin so bad when we played him this year because obviously his focus was like, okay. So we line up, right? Extra point, we score. We line up, extra point. They're all up. Timeout. Yeah. Calls a timeout, right?
Right.
I'm like, all right, let's get all together. Come back out. We line up in something totally different. And then we hit a 2-point conversion. And I'm sure he worked on it all week to get lined up. And when he called that timeout, thought he was like, all right, we're good. And then no, because we had something that we hadn't shown all year, but had practiced it all year. A lot of kind of like some of the stuff that you were doing, right? Like, hey, we practiced it, but we haven't run it. We haven't shown it. I mean, this was game 9, and we pulled out something we had been working on since August, just hadn't implemented it into a game yet. And now, bam, here you go, and you hit it for a 2-pointer after they called the timeout, right? Like, there ain't nothing better than that one.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's awesome. All good, buddy.
Muddle huddle is the best.
Hands down.
There's nothing like it.
And it's kind of funny because traditionally, like, Brick's always been a muddle team. So everybody expects it.
Okay.
Like Brick muddles, irregardless. But they've just never seen the amount of variations that we have off of it in terms of not even like, I mean, yes, alignment, but also now like run, pass, option. Like, what do we do? Like, what are they doing? Or motions, like we've thrown motions in there, and basically is just your Rolodex of like your offensive plays. Keep the same personnel on so you can go fast, right? Like you don't have to run guys on and off and, within that chaotic, like, oh, they just scored. The defense's head is already down. So like, let's line up and go, right? Now it cuts off celebration time for some of these guys that they get a little pissed at, but it's like, look, dude, celebrate, run back to your spot, throw the ball to the ref, and like, let's line up before they even know what's going on.
Absolutely, there's no doubt. They don't, and there's so many great plays from when you muddle and then come over.
That's what that's the whole
So
where is this guy coming from?
They think you're going to kick, and then you run
right. Like, oh, let's go, and then all of a sudden you pull a guard, pull a guard and a tackle, right? Or
everyone whatever. When you come out of the muddle and go back into the regular set, they all take a deep breath. Every time.
We're good, and then it's like, okay. I mean, look, and we've done that, shifted into like an extra point formation, and then shifted again and moved back, or just played those type of games as long as you have time to do it. And the kids love it because they buy in, right? They're like, yo, this is an extra little something we're doing that, like, people don't understand, or you just can't. It's just not enough. Guys don't pay enough attention to it. Or they're like, again, they're fearful of, all right, we screwed this up. Now it's 6-0, right? Like, that's the other part.
And then and guys who run it know how to cover it, but guys who don't run it don't know how to cover it.
No clue. Like, I'll just put all these bodies over here. You're like, okay, but like, this guy's still eligible.
Right. I'm just looking at where you're outnumbered.
I will tell you the one thing, though, it is kind of, we do always tell the refs that pregame, like, hey, dude, we muddle huddle. Like, you just want them to be on the same page of like, hey, we're going to do some of this type of stuff. Because look, it is what it is. Like, sometimes, look, when you're not a very good team, you don't get very good refs, and that's not on them. It's just kind of where it is. And you know what I mean? You just want to make them aware of like, hey, we do some things that you might have never seen before, but here's the rule book, and like, it's legal. So, we've all been there.
Oh, I'm convinced that in high school now, from all the things that I've learned, that if I just was running an offense, I would if I had enough players, I'd score 60 points every game.
There's no doubt.
I'd have enough players because I understand stuff that hasn't evolved in other places yet.
Correct. Like, especially down here.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever had. I've never had a team that had more players than the other than that I walked out and said this was the best team. I've never walked out with that. I mean, I probably only did with Don Bosco, right? You probably say Don Bosco was probably the one time.
Yeah, and even that. I mean, remember, but I remember going to like St. Thomas Aquinas.
Right.
And that's, I mean, here you are, Don Bosco, but here they are with the Bosa brothers on the D line.
Absolutely.
And you're thinking like, oh shit, like this is a little different, right? And then it's like, just like leading up to it of, hey, this guy's here watching the game. This guy's here watching the game. It's on ESPN2. Like, dudes matter. You know what I mean? Like, but also when it comes down to it, like, schematics matter, special teams matter, because by no means were we supposed to win that game and block 2 punts and win the game, right? Like, so it was like a full circle eye-opening of like, okay, this is what it is.
I like to watch film on like all of the best teams in Jersey and try to figure out if one of them has but all the Prokers are probably going to be traditional for the most part. But
like if one of them has a schematic advantage in some way, shape, or form, is that much like you're trying to figure?
Yeah, like beyond just having better. Like I know which teams have better athletes. They have to obviously have good enough athletes to get there. That's no matter what. But I would like to see if like I'm seeing something. I have to watch the film to see it. And okay, because you could see it with Bixby by the extensive amount of outlier plays.
Right.
So when you see
stuff that for the most part on most offensive call sheets would be like this column over here.
Right. So like when I was,
but for them, it's what I mean. Like
when
for
I was
them,
it's RBR, we had outlier plays, but we still had to remember it, even though it was on our wristband. You still had to remember what to do, right? So I'm just curious, and I would like to watch those Texas teams because I would like to see if they were doing things. Now they couldn't. It's a wrist thing, so you can't have the whole play on there. So you still have some level of memorization, but I doing things we would even normally do. But anyway, I'll let you go. I've taken enough of your time. and it's very interesting because I think that's like the goal. My goal would be to see a team.
Dude, going out there to Oklahoma, if you could figure out how to get out there during their spring ball and see it like firsthand, like actually watch, not just sit down with them on tape and whatever, and actually see it live, I think that would be amazing.
Right, they have it what, May spring ball for them?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, more towards like Memorial Day.
Right, because we're done with 7-on-7 in April, so
Yep.
that might be a better time than even in the winter.
Definitely.
Yeah, because you can go and see them actually.
You can go and actually see them do it, and they'll be breaking it down to a certain level because they won't have like all of their guys per se, because it's, you know what I mean? Like they're playing other sports or doing all that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look, also you could go whenever and see them in the weight room and add that aspect to it and be like, damn, look at these dudes getting after it and whenever or whatever too. You know what I mean? Like you could kind of piggyback it all. I'm sure they do some of that in spring ball and whatever, but how about Will Muschamp, man, going back to Texas? What do we do?
Oh, as an assistant?
DC. He got the DC job for University of Texas.
I didn't even know he was still coaching.
He's been on Georgia's staff, dude.
I know. I'm just saying.
I just love those old videos of him and Saban losing their minds, dude.
That was great.
Punching boards and stuff.
It was interesting them talking about that even we didn't even bring up Feed the Cats, but they do some level of Feed the Cats. And
I think it aligns with what we've said or what you've said, and I've kind of agreed with how it is like you still got to have a little bit of something else, right? Like it's very difficult to be all in, whatever. Like you could tell, like, and he was open about it. Like, look, the record, rank, publish, like we are 100% bought into that aspect of it. You know what I mean? But there still needs to be a level of whatever when it comes to it.
No doubt. I listened to, and it was what's his name that had it, Bob Rip, that had the hosted their thing there.
I should get him on.
Yeah, we can get him on. I have a cell.
Yeah, I do. I just haven't talked to him in a really long time.
Yeah, I mean, my kids help put another wing on their house.
Hang on. On another note, do you want to see? So I saw this the other day. There was a youth team that was down in Florida. I don't know if it was AYF, Pop Warner, whatever it was. I guess there was like a group of like 8 or 9 of these kids. They're down there at the game, right? They're about to play in the championship. They went into a Dick's Sporting Goods.
Saw it.
And robbed the store. Got arrested.
Saw that. They're idiots.
Can't make it up, buddy.
Idiots. They didn't get to play in the game because they're idiots. Yeah.
Wow.
Someone else told me that that who was down there, obviously, that we might know, that there was like a fight over a 6-year-old team, 6-year-old, and there was like a shooting or something down there.
I wouldn't doubt it.
One of the hotels, but anyway, so I wanted to just tell you before I go. I thought this was interesting. I watched Boosh Nextnator talk.
Okay.
At it was the same thing that I guess that Tony, not the one in Chicago, but the one that Ripped had, okay. And he's the LSU sprints coach. I think he might be the head coach too, and he's had like legend after legend after legend. And he talked about speed endurance, which I thought was very interesting because Tony really just does not talk about that at all. Like he stays like he doesn't. I don't know if he doesn't believe in it or but he does that one training thing for speed endurance, and that's about it. But it was interesting because he brought up why people can't hold their speed and how he trains it. So he says people can't hold their speed because what happens is the nervous system, the coordination of the body for like even big time sprinters at 70 meters breaks down because the nervous system is not able to coordinate the movements in the same capacity, the same speed rate as you get longer and longer. That varies obviously depending on your level is. But so that's where he talked about speed endurance. So they do like these they call like I don't know what they exactly call it. I don't know, but it's basically sprint, float, sprint,
Sprint,
and
float.
yeah. So you
And by
sprint.
float, is that like a jog or a dial it
No.
down?
Fast moving but smooth, like not straining, not like driving. And
Had to have this conversation with some of our indoor athletes the other day about like, they were running their first races and whatnot. And the one kid like coming around on the last leg just was trying to win so bad that everything just like, he just tightened up rather than just like loose and go.
Yep.
And he said it, he's like, look, I just wanted to win and it screwed up everything that I needed to. Like, I need to be more cool, calm, collective and understand the process of how it was. I'm trying to think. I had 2 sophomores, right? And I wanted to run this by you too, because I needed a reference in terms of, how good they did. So I had a junior run a 7 flat 55. And then 2 sophomores, one was a 7.03 and the other was a 7.08.
That's FAT. That's automatic timing.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. It's not bad. Yeah.
I was curious.
Do they have starting blocks and everything when they start? They have starting blocks?
Yes.
Okay. Then with starting, because I'm trying to think about okay. So in the old days, they didn't have start. Okay. So that's decent. That's decent. It's not like world beating, but it's decent. The younger guys is better than the older guys, but it's like that's probably like a 11.6 100-meter, 11.8 100-meter dash guy, something in that range.
At sophomores, that's good. That's pretty good.
It's not. It's not
middle of the road.
Bad. I mean, in the old days, I would have said it's good, but there's like trackflation now because they all have great track spikes and they all have blocks and they all like. If you were in my era where we didn't even have blocks and they wore these waffle rate, like you would be like, oh, he's pretty fast. Yeah, he might be like an 11.4, 11.3. Like maybe 11.2 if he's strong. But like now with trackflation, because they all have spikes, they all have all the good stuff, and the tracks are faster. I would say it's decent. It's not as fast as I would have thought. Though sprinting hasn't changed. Like sprinting doesn't change as much as like distance running. You know what I mean? Like distance running, these guys were getting faster and faster, and there are times because all the great technology with shoes and stuff, it's like literally propelling them forward. So over a longer race, it helps you more. But yeah, I would say like listen, they're football players. For football players, it's good. Meaning like
cool.
You're not gonna have like most teams are not gonna have a lot of guys that can run 7.0. You know what I mean?
Right. And if you put those 3 on a 4x whatever team.
Yeah, they'll probably be like 40. They probably would be like 44, 43.
Yeah, because there's another kid that can boogie. So it's those 3 and then this other kid, Trey, who's a stud too. Like, and they are.
What did Jermaine run? Oh, he played basketball.
Dude, he's never run track.
Oh.
Which I think is part of his detriment, but not getting into that one.
Yeah, no doubt. I guess he won't be joining us this year on the Beast.
Go prolific. High school seniors playing 7-on-7, buddy.
I mean, we've had
good.
We've had a couple over the years, but like, I don't know.
All right, man.
Each their own.
Talk soon.
Yep.
Later.